Hello, Dr. Kavi. Dr.
Yes,
Kavi?
Doctor.
All right. Okay. So I think
Can we
probably we
start
can
now?
start now. Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe we um maybe we start at we just wait a few minutes. Can we?
Yeah, sure. No problem. No problem.
All right. So I think we can start now. Dr. Kavi, by the way, how are you?
Yeah, good. How are you, Doctor?
I'm fine. Thank you too. All right. So so I think we can start now, yeah?
Yep, sure.
All right, so Assalamualaikum and good morning, everyone. I hope you are all fine. Okay. First of all, thank you very much to all participants that joined this session. My name is Suzaira Bakar, the moderator for today's session. And it is a great pleasure to welcome all of you to a webinar at RIA, okay, Research Industrial and Alumni Research Talk. So this session is actually organized by Junior Science Communication and Faculty of Applied Sciences Publication Committee. And we are actually very delighted that you are able to join with us today. Okay, but before we start, there's a few things to take note. First is please make sure that you switch off your mic, and if you face with any disconnection during the session, please join back through the initial link given here. So before we listen to the presentation by Dr. Kavi, I would like to welcome Associate Professor TS Dr. Sharif Sheikh Ibrahim, our research coordinator, to give the welcome speech to represent Prof. Malik, Deputy Dean of Research Industry Networking and Alumni, who are not able to join with us today. So Dr. Sharif, over to you.
Thanks pada saudara moderator and Assalamualaikum, selamat pagi semua. And firstly, big thanks to Dr. Kavi, your attendee Negeri Sembilan for accepting our invitation. And we at JSC and FSG really appreciate your time and effort. Dr. Kavi dah makin handsome sekarang. Okay. Last I met him, I think 4 years back in our DFO session there. Okay. And secondly, congrats to the team, JSC and as well as Committee of Publication for organizing this event, which led by Dr. Sharif Fadli and juga rakan beliau. We have Dr. Basit, Dr. Fakrul Zaman, Dr. Usman, Dr. Sabrina, and our moderator, Dr. Suzaira as well. Okay. And next, thanks to the participants who are willing to spare your time to join this morning event. Okay, in JSC we believe that step pertama always hardest untuk nak menulis. Okay. Since most of us already have some publication dalam JSC Snapchat, why not we just upgrade that to the another level? Okay. Probably we can upgrade from Snapchat to the least we can do adalah what requires conference proceeding. that's the most doable thing to do. Okay? So that it's not that difficult. You add a few more, let's say, 2 more points in your methods and 2 more discussion, then you can have this proceeding conference. And later you can always upgrade that proceeding conference to the full paper as well. Okay, step by step kind of approach. Okay, and again, as represent our TD PIA, Dr. Prof. Malik, which not able to come here today. I will kind of hope all those participants dapat banyak input tip daripada Dr. Kavi, very seasoned writer as well as chief editor for the journal di Negeri Sembilan. Okay. And again, selamat berwebinar semua. Okay. So I end with salam. Thanks. That's all. Okay, for me. Terima kasih.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Sharif, for the welcome speech. And before I pass this session to Dr. Kavi Raja, let me just briefly read out his profile. Dr. Kavi is a senior lecturer at a School of Chemistry and Environment, Faculty of Applied Sciences, University Technology Mara, Kuala Pilah. He received his bachelor degree in chemistry from University of University Malaysia Terengganu in 2009. Then he pursued his study to University of Malaya in 2010 for Master Science, which specialized in analytical chemistry and instrument analysis. And in 2015, he received his doctorate degree from University of Malaya that specialized in polymer chemistry. Dr. Kavi is the chief editor for Journal of Academia UiTM Negeri Sembilan and the auditor for My Site Index UiTM journals. He also has been invited as a guest editor in several symposiums at a national and international level. Dr. Kavi has published more than 40 publications related to his works, as well as has presented his work in index conferences. And in 2020, which is last year, he received 2 awards under 2 categories of Rector Award appreciations, which are as prolific writer for science and technology category and writing collaboration at national level. He also has been invited as a speaker to several workshops related to the scientific writing. So without further delay, I would like to welcome Dr. Kavi Raja Pandian Sambasivam to present the topic for today, which is defragmentations of high quality manuscript writing from an extended abstract to a full paper. Please welcome Dr. Kavi.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Suzaida. And also thank you to FSG and also Junior Science Communication for having me over here to share some of my experience, right, on how we can write a good high quality paper and so on. So let me share my slide first. Okay. Okay, so I hope my slide is full screen now. Okay,
Yes,
so
Doctor,
first of
please.
all, right, thank you. Okay, so first of all, when we look at the title, Defragmentation of High Quality Manuscript Writing. So when I was first, actually we planned for this webinar like 1.5 months ago. And after I prepared the whole content of this, for this webinar, when I was thinking about this title, a title for this webinar, the first thing came to my mind is like, when we talk about the research, when we look into the research as a general scope, it's going to begin with the grant acquisition. Okay, you need to get the funding, or sometimes we might do the research without any funding, for example, like FYP research. And then after you get the funding, you need to purchase the chemicals, and then you need to, again, you have to check through your methodology, and you have to plan out how to go about it. And after that, you will be hiring a student, okay, probably a GRA or RA, and then you will conduct the research. So when the research is being conducted, we need to see the results tally with the hypothesis or not. And if it didn't tally, then you probably need to repeat or need to find out what is the error, and then you need to make some corrections. And after that, after that, probably you will get a good results, and then you will be start to write up the paper. So this is a quite long journey, which might take like minimum would be like about 1 year, to maximum it can go up to like 2 to 3 years, right? For you to come out with a good quality paper. So it is quite common or usual for us to get fragmented. So defragmentation is actually a computer terminology where fragment means something like when you do some exhausting works, the ideas, everything will be like just scattered and fragmented. So we need to defragment, which means you need to arrange each and everything in order so that you can come out with a final high quality piece of a paper. Okay, so that's why I came out with the term defragmentation of high quality manuscript. And definitely the main goal of this webinar is to convert your extended abstract into a full paper. So that's what I'm going to discuss in a while. Okay, so for the table of content over here, I have 5 sections. Okay, so the introduction is generally, it's just one slide. Okay, I'm going to show you what I usually do if, let's say, I'm going to sit down and write one full paper all by myself. Okay, and then the main content is the second part, which is the manuscript contents. So this is the part where most of us will go all out, or we might burn out. So in many occasions I end up in burnout. Okay, so that's where I kind of developed some ideas, and also I joined several webinars, and from there I got a lot of ideas on how we can go about it. I tried this and it works out. Okay, so that's what I'm going to share. And definitely, uh, when we talk about a quality manuscript, we also need some tools so that it will facilitate the writing process. It can be boost up, and also some tips and tricks, and finally about some portfolio. Okay. Okay, so this is the style that I usually follow on what we call that, to write a paper. For example, see, when we start off here, we have like 8 sections over here. Okay, so last time what I do is normally when I wanted to write a paper, I will straight away go and write the title, will write the start off with the introduction. So that is the part where I will start the most, because when I wanted to start off with the what do you call that, this introduction section, you need to have some bird eye view. So later I will show in detail how to write the introduction as well. So that's why it's always safer, because you want to write without any drag or any stop or any pause in between, right? So it's always recommended to write or start off your writing with methodology section. Why methodology section? Because this is something that you already done in the lab, and you're already well versed about what you have done, and you're just going to put it in the words. Simple as that, right? So that's why I just put 2 days. Normally you can just spend like 2 days to finish off your methodology section. And then the next part would be the results and discussion, where here I've given 10 days, because results and discussion is the what do you call that, the core part, where it will justify, and also it will let the editor to send your paper for the review, the next process, right? So that's why I've put in over here 10 days. And definitely it involves the for you to draw or sketch the figures, come out with the tables, proper supporting data, so that you can explain, and also you can justify your points, your arguments, and everything. And after you have done that, definitely you already know the overall summary of your paper. Okay, what is the thing that you want to sum up, and what can be delivered from this paper? So the next thing, the most easiest one, is conclusion, 1 day. Okay, it's just one paragraph. All right. And then only go into the introduction. Okay, because you're already done with the results and discussion and conclusion. Now you're going to give the readers, because introduction is the part where it will attract the readers as well. So when you go to the introduction side, you need to give an overall view, and then you have to narrow down the scope. All right. And finally, not finally, so after that, we'll be writing on the abstract and the keywords, which I also put like 1 day over here. And then formatting, I put it over here 3 days because trust me, this is the most tedious job. And sometimes I ask if let's say the paper is like belongs to my students' paper or anything, and if they are still active students, I normally ask them to do the formatting as well. Okay, otherwise I will do the formatting by myself, but this is the most tedious part, I guess, because each and every journal, they have their own style, except for top publishers, your paper, your style. So you don't need to worry much about it. But if other than that, then probably you need to follow the journal's guideline. Okay, and it's like highly recommended to follow the journal's guideline, right? So that's why I normally invest like about 3 days to do the formatting, just to focus on the formatting. And then we'll go into the collaborators and proofreading. Over here, I put 10 days, but sometimes it might take even longer time because in my case, I have experienced like, I passed the paper to my collaborator and then collaborator was so busy. So he forgot to read it. And then I remind him once or twice. Then at the collaborator side itself, the paper took like 1.5 months. Okay. And then when it comes to proofreading, so if let's say you have a team of people where everyone can proofread and improvise the language, that's good. If not, then if you wanted to, if let's say everyone is busy and you wanted to sign up for a professional proofreaders, okay, they might take like another 2 weeks time maybe. All right. So that it will cost you a lot of time there. Okay. So here, whatever days that I've given over here, all is like kind of estimated days. Sometimes like conclusion, you can also finish this within a day of time. I mean, like few hours because just one paragraph. And even some people methodology, maybe they can just finish it within like, 1 day. So when you can compress the time scale, definitely you have more time over here for you to send out for your proofreading or the collaborators to check and the comment, and then you do the revision again. And finally, the submission. So the submission process, yeah, many of us might think like submission is just a submission. You go to the system and then you submit online, but it's not like that. When you create your account and you click that submit manuscript now button, okay, so these, especially these top journals, each of them, they have their own design of templates. You need to answer so many questions. You need to come out with a cover letter which can impress the editor, and then you need to sometimes you need to the way that you need to arrange your figures and tables. Okay, it's all depends on the author guidelines, so you have to follow that strictly. Then only you submit, which might take like 2 to 4 hours. For me, I've taken 4 hours. The least would be I think 1.5 hour, the least that I took. Okay, probably because that paper was rejected, so I directly submitted to another journal, which is under the same publisher. So I didn't change much. So that's why I took it lesser time for that. Okay, so this is the general overview. Okay, the introduction for today's webinar on how we can finish a paper within 31 days. But I'm sure many of you out there probably you can finish it even lesser than 31 days. Okay, so you have to, I mean, this is 31 days is, I would say, this is some kind of breathable time, which means that, we are lecturers. So when we are lecturers, we need to teach. We also have some admin roles. So 31 days is just nice, where I've tested and it works out well, where I've prepared like 2 to 3 papers in this frame. So probably you also can give a try on that. Okay, now we are going into the core part of this webinar. So the first thing, when I was invited for this webinar, see, I also have joined many webinars on writing high quality manuscripts and so on. But after I joined that, definitely the motivation in me is like, it's really, I would say it's like pumped up. I'll be like highly motivated to sit down and write. But when I sit down and write, that's where I had the problem, like, I will be stuck where to start and what to write and so on. All right. So here, this design actually kind of helped me a lot to come over this. And then it's like allow me to write continuously. And so, yeah, the next slide onwards, I want all of you to follow me closely, which means that you already, because now the main goal is like you wanted to convert your extended abstract into your full paper, right? So when we talk about your extended abstract, that means you already have some data, right? So when I go each and everything, each of this section, and you can see over here, I didn't follow the pattern of like, from title, abstract, introduction, method. No, I follow the style where when we start off with the methodology, what you are going to write. Okay, what are the important aspects that need to be put into this methodology section? So these are the few things. So I want you all to follow closely, and also try to imagine yourself. You already have some data. So when I explain about something, how you're going to fit into this particular subtopic and so on. Okay, all right. So when it comes to methodology section, I put it over here, 4 parts. The one that I feel kind of important for, I mean, it will enhance the quality of the methodology section itself. The first thing is about chemical and apparatus, and please make sure to reveal the brands, purity, and model. So this is what not usually I see as well. Okay, so in a while I will go in detail about each and every section over here. So that time I'll explain more in detail. The next part, okay, usually we will have like kind of synthesis, okay, characterization, or sometimes after you synthesis 2 different components, you want to blend it together, normally for the material side. Okay, so you want to prepare the composite materials. So be as thorough as possible, which means that you need to explain everything clearly, so that the readers, when they read the journal, they understand, they can follow your style of writing. Okay, state the conditions that will be adhered during the synthesis. The conditions, like whether you're doing it at room temperature, or you are controlling the temperature, or is there any control in terms of the stirring, or you are using ultrasonication. This kind of very minor things. Okay, it's very minute, but this makes the difference when you write the high quality papers. The next, process and make application. So make sure follow the timeline and don't make it broad. So this one I just put it over here because yeah, many of us over here, probably we might not have grant, so probably we are doing the experiments based on our FYP projects. So when we are talking about FYP projects, definitely the time limitation is the major factor over here. So we cannot be like, like you wanted to focus a research which might be for the master students, or like a PhD work, where the application need to be more enhanced and broadened. So you can just focus on a very simple parts. So later I'll show you some of the examples basically from the work that I've done before. And statistic and ANOVA, okay, this is some example I've given over here, ANOVA and t-test statistics. So this is something that I didn't elaborate much about the statistic in my further slides, because this is something that I'm learning myself at the moment. Okay, why I put over here the statistic as one of the part under the methodology section. You see, we as researchers, we definitely need to read every day, right? Okay, so that we can kind of snowballing the idea, the knowledge, and what people are doing at the moment, and so on. So for the past years, I mean, from the late 2019 until now, when I read the papers, especially from Q1 or Q2 journals, when you go into their methodology section, they have one part, 2.1, for example, the chemicals, 2.2 synthesis, 2.3, maybe the application, whatever application that they're doing, and 2.4, they have a section called statistic, which means they just focus, just very small paragraph. I think the words also will be like within less than 50 words, just less than, maybe not even 50 words, like 30 to 40 words only. Okay, very small paragraph, but they emphasize on what is the statistical model that they have used in their study to prove the reliability of their study. So it shows that nowadays the current trend, when we read this Q1 or Q2 papers, basically uh, the statistic has become one of the important tool, okay, in the scientific writing. So probably you can also think about using some statistical tools. Okay, definitely we can learn that. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a strong mathematic background, but we have a lot of videos in YouTube, and also I think we have a lot of clicks, because even by being the editor, when I receive the papers from the authors, I also see many of science people are doing statistical analysis very good. So you can collaborate with any of your colleague as well, who have been working on the statistics. Okay, so now let's go in detail about each of this section. Okay, chemicals, apparatus, instrumentation. So let's see what are the things that very important. These are something that very small, uh, very minor, I would say, but it makes a difference. Why? In methodology, see, editors also will check thoroughly on your methodology because they want to see how reliable is your method and whether is it reproducible or not. Okay, this is one of the comments that I usually give when I review, and also I get sometimes, because before this I've done a lot of mistakes when I write. uh, I tend to, like, overlook certain very minor things. So I used to get these kind of comments as well, where the methodology that you write must be reproducible and you don't need to hide anything. Okay, so just be open about it. Okay, some of the things, okay, for example, when we talk about one chemical, acetonitrile, so probably you can mention when you purchase, what is the purity that you purchase, the brand, because we know when it involves the chemicals from brand to brand, there are some differences, right? So normally when you're going for a separation techniques like chromatography techniques, you definitely wanted to go for a Merck products. Why? Because we believe that Merck products are like very high quality, but sometimes no need to be like that, right? You also can go for other brands, and the other brands, when you use, you need to mention the brand so that when other people they want to repeat, so they repeat, probably they also want to repeat and see whether they get the same results or not to enhance their studies. So that's why the repeatability is very important. So in order for anyone to repeat your results, to reproduce, you need to mention everything clearly. So just provide the information on the purity, the brand, and so on. Another thing is, I also receive papers like, I see the authors just write, okay, blah, 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 these chemicals are purchased from this supplier. That's all. And I don't know what is their starting molarity and what they have done, how what kind of a dilution that they have made. So all this makes some importance there. Okay, so that's why I put it over here. This is mandatory. Okay, apparatus is basically not mandatory. Do not list down common glasswares. Okay, so even sometimes I see papers where they just list down the apparatus like beaker, what is the size of the beaker, thermometer, the conical flask, all this. No, it's not necessary. Okay, because when you are writing a paper, it's understood for particular process what is the equipment, the glassware, not equipment, the glassware that is suitable. Or sometimes we might don't have that facility, so we may replace that glassware with some other glassware so that still can come out with the same results. Okay, for example, let me just give you one example. In my synthesis, okay, my background is polymer. So when I do this polymer synthesis, I need to use a dropping funnel to control the initiator addition. But that time, I didn't have a dropping funnel. I mean, during the start of my career in UITM. So, and also I couldn't find one dropping funnel in UITM. So what I did, I used a burette, because even dropping funnel and burette, the same concept, just the different glassware. So that's why the glassware doesn't make much importance over here. So you don't need to list down that. But you can definitely mention about like pumps used, like vacuum pump or aspirator pump, let's say for washing purposes, because washing purposes also, you see, when we go really in detail, there is a difference why you want to use aspirator pump for the washing, or you want to go for a centrifuge. Two different types of washing process. So there is a difference between these two. All right, so that's why it's important for you to mention which technique or which equipment that you have used to do this process. Yep, so this is not really mandatory, but certain things, yes, you can give some consideration. Okay, instrumentation, so any instruments that give empirical data. Okay, sometimes, yes, the for example, when you are running the FTIR, okay, you wanted to tell them what is the resolution that you have used and whether this is going to be ATR or it's like you are going to use KBR palette, this kind of a minor things. Okay, when it comes to morphology study, so morphologies, if let's say your sample is not conductive enough, then when you put on top of the the stud, okay, or stop, I guess. I forgot the name that you can put and then you can place inside the scanning electron microscope. So there might be a charging effect happens. So when reviewer read your paper, if let's say you don't really tell the reviewer about these details, they will question that, okay, because they know the material is non-conductive. How come you can get such a beautiful morphology picture? Okay, so there must be something happen, right? So probably we need to do a sputtering. Okay, so when we do the sputtering, there are many types of sputtering, like gold sputtering or platinum sputtering. So you also need to mention, I mean, it's recommended. Okay, so sometimes, you know, the SEM or PSEM, normally if let's say we don't have that equipment with us, we might send out. So when you send out to your collaborator or to a third party to run this and they do the sputtering, ask them what is the model of the sputtering machine and what is the coating, the coating thickness that they have made. It's important to that part when we are talking about high quality manuscript. So these are the details that makes or that give the weightage for your writing style. Okay, so yeah, this is the one, the model, brand, the conditions, the settings. So you also can discuss this a little bit at the characterization part. Okay, doesn't matter. I mean, you can put it as instruments or you can just put it as a characterization under the methodology section. So next, let's go to this. Okay, so synthesis, preparation, and characterization. So here, this is more towards the material side. Okay, so normally when you do the synthesis, usually a chemical process, and it involves several chemicals to facilitate the synthesis. So mention even small matters like temperature and time. Okay, the conditions, because you see the problem, it's quite common as well. When we read a journal, okay, and we got some steps which seems to be interesting and it's doable in our lab. So we adopt the same technique and we do it, we perform at our lab. When we do that, there are many times that we might not get the same results as what people have reported. Why? Because they didn't disclose some of the informations, okay? Which means some very minor things maybe not mentioned and we didn't follow here, right? Because we are just, you know, we are just following the particular journal. When you just follow like that, that's what will happen, okay? Because it happened to me during my PhD time. I've been like, you know, it's like so garam kind of a feelings where after a lot of attempts, I still couldn't manage to get the right proportion of my material. So when I check again the journals on some other journals as well, yep, then I find out the solution because for a particular synthesis method, normally they cite one another, right? The cross citation effect. So when we think about that, and when you read of several papers, maybe like 10 papers, and then you compare, you do a table, and then you have to compare and see. So from there, from each of these paper, you can get one piece of information. So you blend it together, and then you will get the final recipe that you're supposed to do. That's what I've done last time. Okay, so yeah, so that's why when we write the temperature, the time, the very minor things, the conditions, very important that involve with the synthesis. And also sometimes they will use the very vague terms like stirring and homogenized. So two different terms. Sometimes they just use the term like homogenized. Sometimes they just use like a stirring. So it involves different techniques. Sometimes, you know, during the preparation of the material, you cannot use a stirring. Okay, you cannot use a stirrer bar. Maybe stirrer bar is not effective enough. Probably you need to use, especially when we are dealing with these nanoparticles. Okay, stirring is not, it's not really I would say it's not really a recommended method because nanoparticles, due to their size, their surface charge or surface energy is quite high. So they tend to aggregate and they don't really distribute well throughout your mixture. So the recommended method would be this ultrasonication, so that you know the sound energy can really distribute them well throughout the mixture. So I have done this mistake. When I read a paper, I didn't understand the term that they have used. This happens during my master's time, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so when I do the synthesis via what do you call that, the stirring method, it didn't work out. And after I discussed with my supervisor and so on, then only I realized, okay, so probably stirring is not the right method to come out with this material. I need to use the ultrasonication. Okay, so this kind of a things. Okay, same thing when it comes to blending preparation. Preparation normally it could be a blending process, and so this is so in a way to the material side actually. You can report like A mixed with B to produce C. So rather than just report like that, try to give more details on the preparation. Okay, uh, again and again and again, I'm emphasizing on the conditions. The conditions which will make the particular method to be reproducible. That's important. Okay, characterizations, it's empirical data. Okay, you can just put in the whichever characterization that can give you the empirical data. Okay, importance, it is important to prove the formation of new compound. For example, you are doing totally a new compound. Okay, so probably you need to find the right tools to characterize that, like NMR or like any chromatography techniques. Okay, probably. And also it will help you to identify the sample accurately. Otherwise, if let's say we just stick to a very normal characterization like functional group, especially on the FTR or UV-Vis or XRD, we can get some data, but you know, when it comes to a new material, that is not sufficient enough. The editors or the reviewers definitely will ask for a specific characterization technique that proves, okay, even though you show them like 4 or 5 characterization, they still ask for more. How can you concretely tell that this is a new compound? Okay, they will definitely ask you that. So we need to be ready for that, and also we need to find that instrument with the collaborators, or if let's say it's available in your faculty, you can use that and analyze the data. Okay, so this is a simple part, process and application. Okay, so here it depends on the nature of funding. So if let's say it's a 5P, then probably we can just investigate on the easiest and the most practical one, and then we can just report as it is. If let's say it's about funded project, then definitely we need to strategize and you need to have more data when it comes to application. So for example, I've given over here the sensor application. Normally because I've personally worked on the sensor application, also adsorption. So we can go and write a lot of things about these 2 applications. But normally I don't go a lot. I just stick with very simple one like calibration curve, selectivity, reusability, and long-term stability. And when it comes to adsorption application, I just go for effect of pH, adsorbent amount, initial concentration, and time, and you know, the time factor. Okay, after the research is done, you need to write as well, and you need to publish. If possible, you don't want to keep those theses from the students for a longer period of time. You want to publish it as soon as possible. So to do that, and also if depending on the nature of funding, you need to plan strategically so that it will be as minimum as possible, so that it will be easier for you to write down. Okay. Right, let's go to the results and discussion. So this is the part that I put the highest weightage when we write a paper. Okay, the first thing, you need to strategize. What are the things that you're going to write down and how you're going to organize your data and so on. So here I've divided it into 3 different sections, topics and subtopics. So here I'll be showing you some examples in a while. The main data and also the secondary data. Figures, it's important to be self-explanatory, and also the graphic, you know, the resolution and so on is very important. Tables, use it for a comparison purpose, or you have to use it wisely. So later I'll discuss more about this as well. Okay, let me go into the topics and subtopics. Okay, so this is one of the example. So the example that I've taken is XRD. Okay, so here we can see there are 4 different materials involved with some amorphous and also crystalline nature of those materials. Okay, so if let's say we are just going to report this XRD data, it will merely an XRD data where you will be discussing about these peaks, and also, okay, each of these peaks you can discuss, and also you can tell, okay, these are the essential peaks for this particular material and so on. So it's so simple. But when we talk about some certain quality. You want to add some quality to your paper, right? And also this one I took it from my own papers, but this paper I haven't published yet, so I just submitted and it's already reviewed, but I don't know, it's like a few weeks already. I didn't get the response from the editor yet. Yep, so this one I plot using origin. And then when you look at the crystallinity index, yes, definitely this is not like wow kind of a crystallinity index, but it gives some information. Okay, it gives some information about the material. So this is what I meant by the secondary data. So secondary data will actually enrich, or I would say it will flourish your interpretation. Okay, so when you have this kind of a graphical images which will give some extra input, definitely it's going to add some weightage for your paper writing. Okay, so that's what I've that this is one of the example when it comes to XRD. And when we look at this crystallinity index, I just used origin. You can go to YouTube. Okay, you can find several videos which are so useful that you can adopt those methodologies, but definitely it's better to refer to some experts, and or you can also refer to some books. Okay, because sometimes when you want to calculate the crystallinity index, you must know how to correctly choose the picks. If let's say you do some errors, then yeah, your results also will be a lot of error over there, because we are learning by ourselves, right? So that's the thing. From XRD you can get two data. Okay, and also you see this picture is so small, so you don't need to make it as another figure. You just put it as an inset, or you just place it at the top over here and make it the whole thing as figure 3, and you probably can label this as figure 3a, this is as figure 3b. All right, and then that's it. You can explain in detail already. How to write in detail, I will show you in a while. Okay, more examples. This one I've given over here. So this is something that I took from my PhD work. So for the PhD work, actually I've worked on the conducting polymers, polyaniline sensors. So when we look at this FTIR spectrum, so this is like, this paper was published in 2014 or 15. Maybe that time it was like not so strict when it comes to FTIR. So, but nowadays, if I submit any paper with this kind of FTIR, definitely I tell you it will be rejected. Why? Because when we submit the FTIR results itself, the editor, they want to see whether we have labeled the pics here or not. Okay, they wanted to see that. I don't know. It's like many places that I've submitted my papers, so I learned from that. Okay, from the editors' rejections, I learned a lot. So basically, they want us to label either the functional groups, or the best thing is you can label the particular wave numbers over here, so that easier for the readers to tally the information with the text. Okay, this is just an FTIR data, but always we have to think, in some cases we can also make the FTIR data so informative. Okay, so this is the secondary data that I got from the what do you call that, this main FTIR data. So here when we look at the two peaks over here, there are two peaks. Okay, it's hidden because I put it all stacked together. So that peak belongs to the quinone and benzenate of the polyaniline. So when we look at the intensity and when we calculate the ratio, definitely we cannot just take the intensity, because different amount will give you a different value and so on. So you can go for the ratio calculation. So when you go and calculate the ratio, you can exactly identify the amount of, we call that as the main functional group that responsible for this conducting polymer to conduct electricity. Okay, so that kind of informations, just from FTIR data, you can do a secondary data to interpret and give more inputs. And also this is going to be a different way of looking at your data. Okay, so a creative way. So this is what the editors are expecting for. And also readers, when they see that with their eyes, it will be like, when you see and you read, it will be captured much more easily. So the message also will be transferred effectively. So that's why it's important. Okay, let me show you one more example also from my PhD work, this one. Okay, this is just a basic UV vis spectra. And here we have like, okay, you know, for these conducting polymers, polyaniline, they will have a typical 3 peaks. Okay, so I've listed down their each of their wavelength over here and the absorbance. But I also did an absorbance ratio calculation, which is the secondary data. So we can see over here from this is called the benzenoid and this is called the polaron peak. So I calculated the ratio. When we calculate, we can see there is a difference, significant difference in terms of number. So this number later, what I did, you can see penny 3, it has the highest absorbance ratio, which is 1.8.98. So I relate this with my another data, which is the conductivity results. So you see, I interlink between the data. So there is a sync between my data. When readers or when the editor or reviewer, whoever read your paper, there is a continuous sync between each and every step, between each and every figures that you have provided in your data, which is good enough, which will be, you know, editors wouldn't have any reason to reject the paper. But nowadays, recently, the rejection is quite high for any of the papers. Uh, I don't know. I just feel like, you know, the number of submission has become quite extreme due to this pandemic, maybe. So many journals, they just find a reason, a small reason to reject. So what I would say is don't give that reason. Okay, you have to overcome those things. Okay, so here 3 examples that I've shown you. The first 2 examples, the one that I've shown you is based on the figures. You can come out with the secondary data, and this one is based on a table. Okay, so this one, you also can do a table to show your secondary data. Okay, let's go to the next, which is, the content for each figure and table. Okay, here I've given what we need to write and probably the sentence limit. Okay, and also the pattern on how we can write effectively. Why I put this slide over here? Sometimes when I receive papers as the editor or reviewer, when I go through the figure and the text wouldn't have much synchronization. And I will be like quite frustrated, you know, to read and to capture, because I have to rearrange. The points within the figures will be very messed up. So I have to rearrange for them and I have to give the comment, because the paper, based on my experience, those papers, they were quite good. Those papers were good, but just that the way of writing need to be polished. Okay, so what is the content that would give you the high quality style? I would say that first, when you're talking about the figure, introduce your figure. What is that figure about? Okay, and you can do that with just one simple sentence. Okay, many papers I have seen, like, you know, they straight away go and discuss about their pattern or some other discussion section, but without giving some intro. Because another thing also, okay, I didn't put it over here, the common way of writing, I don't see these rules anywhere, but this is the very common way of scientific style of writing. You give the text and then only you put the figure. Don't put the figure and then you give the text. Okay, so the common way of scientific style of writing, you give the text followed by the figure. All right, so just remember this. Okay, all right, so the first thing you can introduce about the figure. Next, you go and discuss the pattern of the pattern of not pattern pattern of your results. Okay, what is the trend? Okay, when you increase the temperature, the response increasing, or it's like decreasing, or it increased and then decreased, or it's like, you know, fluctuated. So discuss, you have to discuss the pattern. So that is called, you know, for scientific papers, and normally we have the section normally results and discussion. But when you go to the other field of totally out of science and technology field, some journals, they recommend for results, and then there is another section called discussion. So normally their results section will be like quite heavy. Even scientific papers also got, or some journals I have seen that. Okay, so the discussion will be quite lesser. But here, commonly for many of the scientific papers, they put it together, results and discussion. So you have to discuss the results first. Don't jump into the discussion and then you go to the results. You explain about the pattern. Okay, it's like the other way around it. So this is what I told you. Some authors, their papers are good, but their points when they explain about the figures like totally messed up. All right, so we have to be consistent on what we are writing. So first discuss the pattern of your results, and then only you go into the discuss the implication of your data. Okay, so when the pH becomes the neutral, it shows the highest absorption. Why? You have to identify that. Or if, let's say, you got the highest absorption at alkaline pH or acidic pH is not really preferred, but you got at that particular point. What could be the reason? What is the nature of the environment of your test samples? So you have to discuss that. So that is called the discussion, and probably you can just do that within 2 to 3 sentences. And definitely the literature, relate your findings with the other reported literatures. So there are two things over here, two ways that you can do. Some results, you no need to relate it with other people. You just give the citation. The citation indicates that, okay, the other people also did something like this and they got the similar results. In another style of writing, that's why I put over here, don't overdo, where after you have introduced your figure, you discuss the pattern of your results, and then you go to the third part, which is you discuss, right? And the fourth section, you're going to say, Abu et al. Has synthesized this material and they reported a similar finding. Okay, why they found the similar finding? That finding and your finding, is it similar? You can explain over there, and then you can say another one. Okay, maybe Lam et al. They reported this way, and these results are contradictory to your present results. Why is it contradictory? You can explain about that. Okay, but it's not really relevant for you to go and do the same pattern for each and every figure. Okay, normally when it comes to like FTR, normally, because FTR we have a lot of things to explain, each and every wave number, what is the functional group, so finally it proves the formation of your compound or your composite. So normally we don't do this kind of a comparison with the other reports unless this is significant. Okay, if it's not significant, you just give the citation is enough. Okay, and another one more thing that I think I have to emphasize is, wait a minute. Oh, suddenly it's hot in my room. Okay, yeah, do not ever forget to do citation in your results and discussion section. Okay, probably you can do a minimal citation in the methodology section, but results and discussion, yes, you need citation to support your data. Why I'm telling this, maybe many of you might think that we normally cite what is the main problem, but recently I have reviewed like 2 to 3 papers, all from ISI journals. Okay, even though we don't use the term ISI anymore, they are ISI, that means the papers with impact factor. I don't find any citation in their results and discussion, but their data seems to be very good. So I really feel like, very sorry for me to reject. So I didn't reject. I give recommendation. You need to justify your data with other people's studies. So that is the normal pattern that we do in scientific writing. Okay, so please don't forget to cite papers. Okay, doesn't matter if it's not really related. I mean, not related. It's not really fit with your data. You can argue why theirs is different and why you got this pattern. That could be a good discussion, critical discussion. Okay, all right, so let's go to the figures. Oh, okay, here this figure, okay, sorry, I forgot to cite this one. Not from my paper. This is from some other journals. I took it, I forgot to cite the journal. Okay, so let's look at this part over here. Then I explain about these figures here. Yep, to plot the figures, please use softwares like Origin, Prism, or Excel. Prism I've never used before. At the moment, I'm using Origin. Previously, I used Origin and Excel. Okay, both. And last time during my PhD time, Origin was there, I guess, but it was not really famous, and I don't even know how to use Origin at that time. Even till 2021, I just started to use Origin this year. Okay, so 2020, last year. So this year only I started to use the Origin. Excel was the main platform or the main software that I use to plot figures. But when you use the Excel, yeah, I think all of you also know there are some difficulties, some obstacles that you cannot solve easily in the Excel. So Origin actually will make your life easy. And also, trust me, you go to YouTube and just watch Origin related videos. You can do so many analysis, so much of additional data that you can generate from your existing main data just by using the Origin. Okay, so just go and check out in the YouTube. So that is the benefit of Origin, a powerful analyzing tool. And high resolution, so replot the figures. Do not use instrument generated figures. Okay, this one also one of the problems that I've faced, where sometimes I get the paper to review and they attach FTIR spectrum. The instrument generated, they just, I don't know, they scan and then they put it over there and then they label on top of that. It's not handwritten label. They type and label it, but it doesn't look professional and doesn't look like I want to continue reading the paper. Okay, so don't do that. You have to replot. You get the raw data and you have to replot. You can use the softwares. Okay, generally journals prefer figures in the TIFF or PNG format because these two formats will give you high quality and also high resolution figures. Wherever it's possible, please label the pics within the figure. Okay, so because we don't want to uh, what we call that easier, especially when it comes to FTR, a very basic characterization. But yes, uh, there are so many noises and peaks in the FTR, so we wanted to highlight the important one that related to your discussion. So when you also label those peaks, it's going to be easier for the readers to follow your storyline. Okay, that's the main ultimate goal of that. Self-explanatory figures and figure captions. So this is one of the common term when you go through the author guidelines. This is the one of the common term that you will see. What does it mean? Enable one to understand the figure without reading the corresponding text. So when someone look at your figure, they must be able to analyze. So that's why you must give as much as information possible in your figure itself. Yeah, definitely your figure might look quite rich. Okay, so use the right resolution and so on, but that is the best way of doing the figure, and that is the most preferred style of figures for the high quality papers, especially the journals. Okay, organize, use software to plot and store the editable version of the figure in PowerPoint. Yeah, so here when you put inside your paper, you don't need to put the editable one. That means, for example, when you plot a figure in the Excel, you can copy and paste into the Word file, your manuscript file, right? But when you do that, when you do some changes in terms of formatting, the figure might a bit blurry. The x-axis or y-axis. I have faced this problem personally. Okay, so that's why I would say you store the TIFF or PNG format in your manuscript file. And if let's say you got editable file, you just organize in a PowerPoint, slide by slide. Why? Once you have done that, in case you got some comment from the reviewers, you want to revise your figure, you just go to the PowerPoint, you double click, it will direct you to the Excel file or to the Origin where you can edit over there. Okay, so it's just the organization or the way that you organize, useful for any revision, conference presentation, and also this figure. Okay, this is another pattern that I see commonly in latest journals as well. Okay, start from this one. I started to see from journals from 2018 onwards. Back in 2017, I mean, before that, those journals quite less. Okay, I wouldn't say no, not at all, but lesser. But after that, 2018 onwards, in the journals, this is the pattern that I see a lot because, yeah, mainly this kind of a figures I found from Q1 journals, and they have a lot of data to explain. Okay, really a lot of data. That's why they put it in this way. You can see over here in just one figure, this is just a figure one, but you can find so many information. Like they put TEM, they have yeah, this is their particle size distribution. They got XRD, they got FTIR, they got Raman, they got pore size distribution. So it's like exhausting, okay? But it's good. It's good to put so much of information, because probably this is because of a material, okay? So it tells you, when you put this kind of a figures, it's going to tell you that each and every aspect that we investigate, they have interconnected, okay? They have interconnection. So when you have this kind of thing, then probably you can come out with this figure, provided you really have a lot of data to show later. Okay, if let's say for example, okay, if let's say if I talk about my personal FYP projects, I normally do like 3 to 4 characterizations, and then I might have another 2 or 3 figures for the application, total 7. If let's say I'm just going to put all my characterization in one, and then my total figure is just going to be like 2 or 3. So it's like doesn't mean that I can't do that, can do, but just that, when we write or when people read, they don't have the proper grasp. They might think that, okay, this contains very less data. So probably for you to show, it's not really exaggerating, it's really you wanted to show enough inputs. You wanted to give as many inputs as possible, which is relevant for your manuscript, because definitely these inputs, they carry some credit. Why? When you write creatively, when you put your figures in a very organized manner, definitely it's going to pull citation. So as a researcher, citations are very important for all of us. Okay, let's go to the tables now. Okay, use the tables wisely, avoid redundant information. So this is seldom happen. This is one of the problem in the thesis. Normally I see that uh, sometimes I see that FTI data, they already have the spectra, they already label the spectra very nicely. Again, the same information appeared in another table, showing that this is the functional group and this is the wave number and so on. I personally feel like it's not really necessary, because you already given everything so beautifully in your FTR spectra. So why have to give the same data again? Okay, unless you do some analysis on that spectra and then you put it in the table, that's good. That's the best that you can do. So use the tables wisely. Okay, so try to avoid any redundancy. That means you don't repeat that. Okay, use table for any added value purposes. Okay, here I've given personally from my, again I forgot to cite, okay, all these tables I took it from my own published works. So this is one of the pattern. Okay, it definitely depends on the nature of each and every audience over here. Okay, so since my projects are mainly on the sensors, polyaniline sensors for the ammonia, so what I would normally do is, like, I will give a comparison table, like I compare with the other materials, and then what is their linear range, what is their lowest limit of detection, instruments, their method, and also their reference. Finally, I put my reference over here. Okay, I mean the present paper. Okay, and same thing. Okay, just that the way that I present everything is a bit different. Okay, another one more thing. This one also I have seen from some papers where they put the table, this kind of a comparison table, and then they report that, okay, their material reported the lowest limit of detection compared to other material, and they just discuss that table within, I think, 2 sentences. Not enough. Okay, it depends on the journal. When we talk about a quality journal, okay, when you want to publish, because yeah, the main goal of our workshop today is to convert your extended abstract into a high quality paper. So when we talk about the paper, high quality paper, you need to discuss, you have to tell the editor, sorry, the readers why your material can report the lowest limit of detection. But like some cases, you see over here, when I do the comparison, I even put another material which is even lower than mine, 1 ppm. Mine is just 5.24. So definitely I can justify, even though my material showed higher limit of detection, why is it stand out compared to the one that showed low, even lower limit of detection? So you see, that carries the weightage. That's what will attract the editors and also the reviewers, mainly the editor, because editor normally they will go through the paper. I mean, they don't really read, but they go through and see each and every element in your paper. Okay, whether you have organized, whether you have write it enough or not, sufficient or not, then only they will pass it to the reviewer if they're satisfied. It's really difficult to satisfy an editor. Right. So that is my my suggestion. So you can use the tables wisely and use it for any value added purposes. Okay, conclusion. Okay. Conclusion is basically one paragraph, and it's going to be main outcome of your research, and you have to justify whether your hypothesis is accepted or not, and then your research question is answered or not. This is the main thing that you need to highlight. Definitely, you can briefly explain what you have done and how you have proved and what is the outcome, and finally you have to mention about this. Okay, battery is low. Okay, and then yep, prospect. That means I think my slide got. Okay, can see my slide. Yeah, I think can see my slide. Okay, all right. So prospect. So basically, prospect here means give some suggestions. Okay, so when you give some suggestions, it will be good for the readers to read your paper. Okay, after they've read your paper, if let's say anyone, they are going to start off kind of similar research on what you have done. So when they read your paper, you see you have organized your paper so beautifully. You have organized it, you put in your tables, figures, and so on. And then when someone read, they will be like kind of attracted. So when they write their paper, definitely you're going to get the citation. Okay, so that's why it's important for you to plan out well and write it in a good manner. I mean, in a professional manner, so that at the same time, beside publishing, you also get the citation later on in future. Okay, right. So conclusion doesn't mean that I'm going to end the presentation. So now is introduction. Okay, so you can see that I put introduction at the later part because I really following from one section to another section. Like, I shared in the second slide just now. Okay, first about the method, then your results and discussion. What is the thing? So that's why I put over there. Results and discussion is the highest weightage. So I took a lot of time to explain on that. And then we got the conclusion, and now the fourth part, which is the introduction. So now only fourth part, we have another 4 more parts. But trust me, all those are quite shorter one. Okay, introduction. Yep. So I've seen I myself as messed up my introductions when I write the paper. Okay, so from the experience, I have. I mean, I refer to many articles, many journals, how they write, what makes their introduction to be, like so nice and organized, and it makes me to keep reading. Okay, so that's why here I've put, there are a lot of ways, a lot of styles that you can follow to write, but here this is the most simplest way of writing. And if you look at the background picture also over here, this is a bird eye view. Okay, this is a bird eye view, which means that first you have to introduce your topic from from the bird eye view, which means you have to give a broader scope. You introduce and you give a very broader scope. From there, you narrow down. Okay. And the word limit also, you don't need to go a lot. You just make it like 150 to 200 words is enough. Then go into the problem statement. Okay, where you discuss the problem, discuss what are the available techniques or materials, and then okay, from there you need to have a think. Sync means you go into the literature, the third paragraph. Okay, so number 3, third paragraph, report what others has achieved. So here we report what is the problem, and to overcome the problem, what they have achieved, and develop the gap. So you see, you got a broader scope. Okay, you got a broader scope, and then you identify what is the problem. Okay, for this problem, what is the solution? Okay, from the solution, you already know what is the gap that you are trying to identify in your present work. Okay, so that is the simplest way how you can write, draft your manuscript according to the high quality manuscript style, okay, which will attract the readers. So here, this part we have given a little bit higher word number, which is 250 to 300 words. And last paragraph, the most important paragraph, okay, introduction, the last paragraph is the most important paragraph. I'll tell you in a while. Yep, you need to highlight the novelty of your research. What is the new thing? What is the new knowledge that you wanted to share in your paper? Highlight the research gap that you have disclosed in the present manuscript. So the overall introduction section, you can make it. This is again some guideline, some ideas from my side. Okay, it depends on your convenience. You can follow this style, or you can follow any of your well-developed or established style. Doesn't matter. So minimum word can be 650 and maximum can be 850. Okay, all right. Again, coming back to the selling point. See, there are a lot of ways to read, because when you read the journal, we can go exhausted. So the way that I read journals, I have two concepts. One, I try to read one day, one article, okay, one journal. Okay, I do that many times. Sometimes I don't do, I procrastinate. Okay, another thing is, you read a journal for particular purpose. For example, you want to do write up, so you need to read the journal to get their ideas, to get the points on how to write and so on. No, I mean the content. What are the content that you want to write down? So that time, the second the option that I mentioned just now, you need to go for a fast reading. How do you do the fast reading? The way that I do is, normally I will look at the title. I mean, I will read the title, read the abstract. Normally, most of the time, by reading the abstract, you know already whether you want to continue reading and you will get enough information or not. Okay, if let's say the abstract is acceptable, that means you might get the idea that you wanted, then you go on. I will read the third thing that I will read. I scroll down the introduction, I go for the last paragraph, and I will see what is the novelty. You don't trust me, you just go to any journals, the top journals, select any of the papers, scroll down, go to the introduction. The last paragraph is the part they highlight. What is the new thing? What is the new thing that they wanted to introduce from their study? So I'll read that. When I'm convinced with these three, then only I proceed for the the other part, like I'm writing about method, or I'm writing about the content. So I will go to the other sections. Okay, so that's why I tell you, this is how I screen the papers. So many out there also screen the paper through this way, or maybe a different way. So if let's say those who follow this way, so your last paragraph is going to be the important one. Okay, so make sure you write uh, and you address the real outcome of your paper at the last paragraph. Okay, let's go to the abstract. Okay, abstract. Basically, abstract, we all know that this is going to be the summary of your whole work, and this is the last part that we are going to write. Okay, so here we can, I just given some recommendations, okay, where the number of sentences, because sometimes when we write, why I put sentences over here, when I write, I myself, I don't know how much to write. I don't know, when you don't know how much to write, I end up writing more irrelevant things. So that's why I always narrow down, and I stick to certain number of sentences or words, so that I can come out with the right one. Okay, abstract. So first, normally you need to give some background detail, and then you introduce the problem statement, then go to the methodology, what are the things that you have done, your results a little bit, and then the conclusion. So these are the simple things that you can follow in writing an abstract. And again, check specific journal format for number of max words. Okay, why? See, when I write papers, always I wanted to go for this publisher. I want to submit to them, particular publishers. So normally, I mean, like it will be like about 250 to 300 words. This is something that is practiced by most of the journals. But there is another publisher, first time, okay, this is the first time I'm going to submit my paper to this publisher. So I didn't go through the guideline for the abstract. So I already wrote my abstract for 300 words. Then during the final verification process, I'm going to, I already created my account. I'm going to copy paste my abstract. Then only I realized they just want 150 to 200 words. Oh my God. I already wrote my abstract with 300 words. If I remove 100 words, that is so much of information, So, so what I did, I quickly created draft 2 because I don't want to waste the first abstract. Okay, I quickly created draft 2 and then I modify again the abstract. But that time when I modify, I just feel like, oh my God, I don't know what am I writing on my abstract, because when you cut down 100 words, that's really tedious. And unfortunately, that paper was rejected by that journal. So I go back to my draft 1 when I go to other publishers. Okay, right. Yeah. After the abstract, immediately after the abstract, keywords. Okay, see, many of us might think, even I myself thought that keywords, okay, it's just keywords. What the big deal about it? But trust me, keywords can make a significant impact for your paper when it comes to visibility. And commonly, it's going to be 3 to 5 specific words, or you can use phrases. Okay. For example, I have used keywords like gas sensor. It's not necessary for you to use just a word. Some journals, yes, they just specify you must use the word, or even some journals, they recommend you. They will give you a recommended words. You can just use those recommended words. That is very strict, but many journals, they are like kind of free. You can use words or phrases, but phrases don't go like maximum. I would say you can go like 3-word phrases. Don't go for like 5 or 6-word phrases, like almost like a sentence ready. Okay. Most important aspect for creating your keywords is search engine optimization, which means whether it can be easily identified when people search with particular keywords. Okay. Decide the probability of your paper turn up during the literature keyword search. Okay, so that is the main reason. You want, definitely, we write papers, we convert our extended abstract into a high quality paper, and it's not going to end over there, right? We want the paper to be cited, to be identified by someone, and the paper gets cited, right? So that's why invest some time to do this investigation on these keywords aspect and come out with the good keywords. Try not 2 or fewer repeated words from the title. See, normally, how does the SEO work, search engine optimization? When you type the keywords, normally they will pick up the keywords from your abstract, also depends. Sometimes, if let's say Google Scholar search, you can see the title will appear, the authors, and below that there will be 2 lines, right? When you do a Google Scholar search, the 2 lines is your abstract line actually. So any words that you put in the 2 lines of your abstract is actually important, which will increase the chances for your paper to turn out when people search about it. Okay. Yeah, coming back to try not to repeat so many words from your title. Some journals, they put this specifically over there. Try not to repeat any words from your title. Why? You want to maximize the opportunity. Okay, for example, I just give you one example that suddenly coming out in my mind. I'm working on the polyaniline. So definitely polyaniline is going to appear in my what do you call that, in my title, right? But why am I supposed to repeat the polyaniline in the keyword? I have done that many times. Okay, honestly, I've done that many times. Just that some ideas where you can change the polyaniline, because polyaniline also a group from conducting polymers. But maybe the conducting polymer, the term is not really the ideal one, because conducting polymer is too general. Maybe not many people will use that term to search, unless people who are doing a general review. They might search for the term like conducting polymer. Okay, so you really need to play around. You really need to take some time okay, to learn about these keywords, how it works. And also the reason one that I see many people are working on bibliometric analysis, where they publish papers by using the bibliometric analysis. Even I'm joining one tomorrow, okay? So this bibliometric analysis, they have a particular function just to find papers by using keyword search. So if your keywords are good enough, then the high chances for you to get cited by other people, all right? Okay, last over here is make it Google Scholar friendly. Just a minute. Let me hydrate myself. Oops, it's 11:20. Okay, I'll try to go a bit faster. Okay, formatting. Okay, see, this is kind of a feverish part, which were the most tedious and the headache part. I can say over here is manuscript style. Normally, the top publisher, they don't have much stringent policies over here. They just let you do your paper your way until the paper get accepted. If the paper got accepted, then yes, you have to modify the format. Okay, you have to change it according to their style. But other than top publishers, okay, normal reliable publishers, I'm not talking about the predatory, okay, normal reliable publishers, they will have their own template and they want you to strictly follow the template. Like for example, Journal of Academia, we have a template. I think I forgot now. I put mandatory or it's highly recommended. I forgot now because I created the draft long time back. Okay. So many journals, we have our own format because you see, we don't have enough manpower for us to do. Like the top publishers, they hire people, they're paying. But we at university level, we don't have that manpower. So we prefer to minimize the work. So we prefer the authors to follow the available template. Okay. So other publishers, normally they will have the template. So you have to go and check at the website after you completed everything, you want to make it, the format is good enough. And also we have the tools called Journal Finder. So I've given the embedded links over here, like Elsevier, Taylor and Francis, Springer, Wiley, Sage, and also there are a lot. Okay, here some of the tools, some of the journal identifier that I commonly use. You can just copy paste your title abstract. They will give you a lot of suggestions. You have to select the field, so they will give you a list of suggestions where you can easily find out. The one that I love the most is Taylor and Francis, when I'm mistaken. But unfortunately I never submitted any paper to that. Just one that was rejected. Because when you go to the general suggester site, they will give you the detail up to the quartile level. Okay, if let's say Elsevier General Finder, they will give you a lot of information, impact factor, all the common information. But the Taylor and Francis, they will even tell you what is the quartile, and also Sage journal sector, I think, selected. The last one, number 5, also give you the details about the quartile as well, of their particular journal, which is good because when you want to find out the quartile, it's like quite tedious. You have to go through the easy access. You need to go to the Web of Science. You need to click the JCR, type in so many work there. It will make your life easier a bit like this journal finder. You can use that. Author guideline, definitely a must-read package, especially when you're aiming for high-impact journals. So please go and read this. Okay, referencing. We have like Mendeley, EndNote, Zotero. Okay, so Mendeley is what we call that, free platform and most easiest one. So please use wisely, and also please make sure, this is another thing that I commonly see, the citation, the references. Okay, the references, when we just go to just screen through only, you can find a lot of mistakes where the author name will be there, the journal name will be missing, sometimes the title will be missing, because after you import the bibliometric into the Mendeley, you have to go and synchronize, and there is a button for you to make it complete by auto. Okay, you don't need to go and manually check, you just go and click certain button in the Mendeley. It will automatically make sure all the information from the journal website comes into the Mendeley, because we cannot see, this is still a man-made tool. We cannot fully trust on Mendeley. So that's what will happen. Sometimes the year will be missing, sometimes the page number will be missing. So please avoid this kind of mistakes. It's a very common thing. So please avoid that. Minimize self-citation. So this is like, if we don't cite our paper, who is going to cite? but just minimize it lah. Okay, and we can cite our previous publication when we find it really relevant to the current paper that we are writing. Okay, but just don't overdo that, because sometimes, yes, editors, reviewers, they also look at these kind of a things. They don't want because I'm telling this because I've seen one paper. Total references was like, that paper was rejected because that paper was like total references, I think 15, and out of 15, 7 or 8 were self-cited papers. So I don't really see much input from other papers. We want more papers, so that the idea that authors wanted to come out in their paper is like elaborated more. Okay, so that is the main thing. Okay, let's go to the next part. Okay, this is part number 7 before the final part. Oh, I still have more slides. Okay, collaborators and proofreading. Okay, seventh section of the writing process, importance of collaborators. So first we need to understand why collaborators are important. Simply because exchange of ideas which will enhance the quality of your manuscript. That means you don't go for a collaborator like uh, just just like put their name. You have to ask your collaborator to read and give some comments. Definitely when a third person read the paper, they will see some mistakes. They will see where are the parts that can be improvised. It will improvise the overall quality of your paper. Diversity of authors. This is a less weightage, but some journals preference. Okay, for example, you go to the Scopus or you go to Web of Science, you open one journal, for example, Journal of Cleaner Production. When you click the analyze their reports, you can see they do the analysis based on the countries. What are the countries that contributing to their journal? If it doesn't have any weightage, why they wanted to do that analysis? You get the point? So there is some weightage, okay, because journals doesn't work based on site score or impact factor ranking only. They also have some other metrics to be not biased with the impact factor. They also have some other ways of calculating their impact. Okay, so that's why diversity of authors, it plays some role, but not definitely your content makes the major role, but yeah, it gives you a little bit weightage over there. Higher visibility. So this one I got this information from Inago Academy, where if you're all familiar with Inago, they are like a private body. They facilitate in research, writing, coaching, and so many stuffs. Okay. Yeah, so according to them, they have done a statistical analysis, higher visibility. Okay, let me just tell you why it's important. When you have a collaborator, international collaborator, for example, okay, uh, you publish the paper, so you are going to give the full paper to your collaborator, international collaborator. So maybe the collaborator is a well-known professor, so he has his own repository in his university, and his own research kit. So what he will do, he will go and put that paper in his repository or in the research kit, and you know since if let's say he or she is going to be a well-known professor, he's going to have a lot of followers. The moment he upload the paper in his repositories, he will be, I mean, like his followers might be notified. So when followers are notified, they'll be like, wow, this guy got published a new paper, so we wanted to read. So you see, that's how it will give the impact for your paper by having the collaborators. Okay, so that is the one idea. And definitely this is collaborations are going to assist in UITM's Mahara score in terms of national and international collaborations, and also to find potential reviews. So this is something that we can do smartly, okay, which means that, okay, for example, you have a collaborator, international collaborator, you go to his Scopus profile, and then you go and check his co-authors, because almost any journal, so far as I know, almost any journal, they will request you to suggest 3 to 5 reviewers. How do we choose the reviewers? And you know what? Editors, most of the time, they don't use the reviewer that you suggest. But some cases, yes, they use. Okay, in some cases, they use. Because these top journals, they already have a large reviewer pool. Okay, so no need to worry about that. But some, because I've got these questions, okay, from authors. how do I suggest reviewer? So I've given them some tips. So one of the things that I can share over here is, from your collaborator, you go and find their co-authors. Okay, probably you can find their co-author who worked with them, maybe not recently, okay, like 3 to 5 years back. Okay, their old collaborator. You can nominate them. Okay, but if I'm not mistaken, some journals are even strict about that. They don't want, yeah, some journals, I've read their guideline. They don't want you to nominate the reviewer who has worked with any of the authors for the past 5 years. Okay, definitely you need to read the author guideline. Okay, proofreading, let all collaborators to read and check the manuscript before sending out for proofreading due to warranty issues. Okay, see, some proofreading companies, they provide warranty. Okay, so if let's say you give to the proofreader, they already proofread, so that should be the final piece for you to submit to the journal. You don't, after that, you send it to your collaborator, you ask them to read, and they read, they do some changes, and then you send it to the proofreading. Suddenly and then you send it to the journal. Suddenly the journal rejects, and they reject, if let's say because of language, okay, which seldom happens, then you cannot claim the warranty because you already restructured the sentences that they already made. Okay, so otherwise, okay, if you think that your command of English is good, probably you can just use some AI tools like Grammarly, ProWriting 8, Quillboard. So personally, I don't feel like Grammarly, ProWriting 8 I never used before. Grammarly, I didn't use the paid version. Okay, I'm using the free version. Maybe because of that, I'm not really satisfied, because when I write, it's like not really correct. It's just rephrasing some very minor things. Yes, it's doing the best, but still I'm expecting more. Okay, maybe my bad. Okay, and yeah, Quillboard is one of the fantastic tool. Also, I'm using the free version. You can just sign up a free account where it will allow you to copy paste like maximum 700 characters. But trust me, it do the one of the best thing. Yeah, you need to definitely, you need to make some changes after that, but it really helps a lot to restructure. Sometimes, when you're writing, you might be like, this sentence is too complicated. How am I going to rephrase this? What I do, just copy paste in the Quillboard, it will rephrase for me. And from there, I will see if there are any grammatical mistakes. If no, there's none, then I just copy paste and put into my manuscript. Okay, it's perfectly fine, and it also will be out of the plagiarism issues. Okay, all right. With that, we are going into the last part of my section 2. Submission. So this is some tips over here. Okay, I have to go a little bit faster. It is mandatory to adhere to each journal's author guideline. Spend some time to read and go through author guideline. Prepare a checklist. Okay, what are the things that you wanted to include? Avoid any erratic references. Okay, references, very easy for us to make mistakes. So just quick check. You also can check with Crossref whether your references are good or not. I mean, it's not erratic or not. LCV journal styles available in Mendeley. Okay. Prepare graphical abstract if mandatory, recommended if it's optional. Okay, graphical abstracts is kind of a way to attract the readers. So prepare a cover letter. So if let's say, yeah, if you have no clues on how to write a cover letter, I have a very simple template at JOA website. You can always come to, it's free. You can just come to JOA website, and then you can click the link. Also in this slide, I've given the link. And submission is definitely a tedious process, so be sure to upload one by one and include all the details. Okay, and you're going to press the submit button. So initially, just now I told you, please follow me closely when I explain each and every sections, and I want all of you to imagine. Okay, with your existing data, I want all of you to imagine each section I explain how you're going to modify, each section I explain how you're going to make the changes, right? You know what? When I click this submit button, after I done all this process, I click the submit button, the real feelings is going to be like this. Okay, where all the things that we need to be really dedicated to do this each and every process. So after I click that button, this is how it's going to be. It will look so bright. You just feel so relieved. But I have to honestly admit, this brightness can last sometimes will last for less than 24 hours. Why? I submit the next day itself, I will get the rejection. It's unfortunate, too bad lah. Okay, right. Okay, so with this, someone is calling. With this, I'm actually we are done with the main content for this presentation. Okay, but definitely when it comes to writing, you want to emphasize, you want to maximize your writing skills, we need additional things. So the additional thing that I would recommend that I've used throughout that over here is some of the AI tools, but definitely this is just to make your life easy. For example, for the manuscript phrases, okay, just give me a minute. Okay, so right, so I just continue. Okay, so here when we talk about the certain, you know, the writing, the certain phrases, you can definitely go to this Manchester Academic Phrase Bank, where you can select certain phrases from there, and then you can use like Grammarly or Quillboard. And if let's say you want to gather so much of literatures, so you can go to the, I mean, you can use the free version of Scholarship, but it's kind of tedious because you have to upload one by one. Okay, and then for figures, you want to make your figures to look better, so you can use the origin, or you can use biorender. Okay, normally if let's say you're working with some biological samples, go to the biorender. It's not an install app, it's a software that you can just use in the website. Trust me, it has some beautiful pictures that you can take, and you can just modify those pictures. Okay, ChemDraw, you know, I think you know what is ChemDraw, and like, you know, just to draw the chemical structures, because if possible, when you draw the structure, don't stretch or squeeze the structures, just make it as nice as it is. And then referencing wise, you can use EndNote or Mendeley. Stats, you can use Design Expert, Minitab. Okay, so these are the things. Also, you can use SPSS. And we are talking about many softwares. Definitely, it's going to come with some cost, right? You can go for an alternative like online shops where you can find it at a very cheaper cost. And finally, it's going to be your self-intuition as well. Okay, you know well what to write and how to organize and so on. All right, so okay, next. Okay, some tips and tricks. Okay, so I just go as fast as possible. Writing, you know, when you want to write up, you definitely need LR metrics. You can find a lot of examples from the websites, some working logs. So this, okay, I'm just sharing some of the tips that I've used all this while. Order of authors, publication experience, multiple conferences. Okay, so basically this LR going to keep you updated. Always go and read and make sure you have a set of data for like 5 years, like 2016 to 2021. If let's say we're talking about the latest stuff, and it will definitely will give you a quick grasp ideas, and also it will give you the direction where you want to work, okay, and so on. Okay, and it will ease your LR writing, and also you are going to get a pre-prepared LR tables. Okay, you can directly use these tables in the chapter 2. Okay, so this is one of the examples that I've shown over here: title, journal, main topic, advantage, disadvantage. You know, when you put all these stuffs in one table, and also you put reference and then a link to the reference. So if let's say in future you want to refer back to this paper, because you're already given the advantage is what, disadvantage is what, so you can just click that link and it will direct you to the full paper. Okay, you can do that. So this is another style of the LR matrix table as well. Okay, so I wanted to share something here. So, uh, okay, Dr. Suzaira.
Yes.
Okay, all right. No, I couldn't find the button to share my screen.
Because I think you're actually sharing the presentation slide now.
Oh, I'm already sharing, is it?
Yes.
Okay, just tell me you can see my okay, I'm sharing. Oh, okay, it's over here. All right.
Okay, so now it's like
Okay,
the
yeah.
Excel form.
Okay, Excel file. Okay,
Ah,
so
yeah.
okay, thank you. All right.
Ah,
So this is the one of the thing that I did last time. Okay, in end of 2019, and after that also I do, but I do for particular purpose, like, you know, when I want to write a review paper, I do like this, where I put the day, what is the day that I write, and the title. And when you can see over here, each of the title over here, it's hyperlinked, so I can directly go to the website of this particular title, their journal, volume, year, and key remarks. So this is one of the way that I do. And recently I've been working out on the mushroom-based samples for the chitin and chitosan. So I've been working out on their review. So here I put the title. So, you know, this LR matrix table will differ according to the nature of your research. Okay. So here I've put like the mushroom name, their extraction method, and what is the application that they have used for the properties. So when you do like this, you actually can develop a lot of knowledge, a lot of ideas that you will get. Okay, that is one. Another one was, yeah, this is on the way that I organize myself. Uh, you can see over here, this is a working log that I've prepared. This one actually I started to use since the pandemic. Okay, before that I was like kind of not really organized, because we have to do a lot of things, right, as a lecturer. So after that, when I started, and I have improvised this, I would say, because you want to achieve an ultimate goal, you need to split it into sub goals. So I have put it over here, like weekly goals as well. So you can see over here, I've put many things on the paper writing, and also each of the day. Yeah, you know, the one that I highlighted over here is basically focusing on the papers. And the one thing that I wanted to show over here, oh yeah, this is, yeah, you can see, yeah, during the Hari Raya, in the May also, I was like working so on many things. Saturday, Sundays, the one gray color also I work. So yeah, I started to do this SWOT analysis. I just want to share with all of you, because, you know, I know the talk is about extended abstract to the full paper, but something that I myself feel like, yeah, I have to share with everyone, because one of the weakness that I found, I always work all day long, which means that I work in the night. I mean, in the morning during the working hours. Even in the night also I work. So it's like kind of I love to do that, but still it's like exhausting. So I actually managed to spot this by doing this kind of SWOT analysis. So what I decided, start from July, I really wanted to minimize my work like 50% only. I mean, in the night, okay, I want to reduce it 50%. So yeah, till now I think I'm following that. Okay, next quick one I want to share about the okay, authorship. Okay, this also some of the questions that I've got from some authors, okay, last time. So this is okay, see, there is no any rule on how to arrange the authors, okay, in your paper. It's definitely depends on your rule, but if you ask me, this is my way of arranging it. So just giving some ideas, because I hope this is going to be a beginner to beginner guide. So I hope I can give you some ideas as well. So normally I put the corresponding author. If let's say I'm the main principal investigator, then I put myself as the last author and the corresponding author. So the main author normally will be the student who involved in the lab work, writing the content and so on. Then we have the contributors like co-supervisors and so on. Okay, this is first scenario. In the second scenario, sometimes when it comes to FYP research, students, after they have done the research, they will give you all the data. Yes, it's important for you to collect and keep all the raw data. Then, the burden will be at you, where you have to write it because you are the PI of that particular research. So that time, probably I will put myself as the corresponding author and also the main author, followed by the other author. So in short, I would say the position of the corresponding author over here determines, okay, this is what determines the order of other authors. So this is just my style of doing it. I'm just sharing some tips with all of you. And okay, so this is also another tips. Yeah, we wanted to, okay, the main another goal of this webinar, we wanted to convert the extended abstracts into publishable work, right? So you can definitely join through conferences, but one of the thing is like, you can aim for a conference which provide you like a journal article, so that you will get the credit of you publish through the conference, but you also get the journal article in the scopus. And or else you can go for a proceeding based conferences, doesn't matter. Okay, here in 2019, I managed to be part in 8 conferences, whether physically or not physically. Not physically means some of it I used my students, because I had some active students, so they used TAPA. TAPA is for undergrad fund, so they use the fund from TAPA to attend the conference, and when they attend the conference, I also get the credit for the paper. So you can see over here, yeah, so these were the TAPA, but these 2 conference, oh yeah, all right. Then, okay, I also be the member in one of the professional membership, which is the Royal Society of Chemistry. So this is another benefit. When you become a member in this kind of societies, they might have some travel allocation. So please, if you are already a member in any societies, go and find out, or you ask the secretariat. They might give you some money to attend the conference. So in 2019, I got the funding from this RSC, from my membership, to attend. And also I got another funding from my FRGS. This is not my FRGS, from my collaborators FRGS. After some justification, managed to get the funding from here to attend the conference. And also I got the corresponding author from this conference. So these are some of the ways. And definitely, I think all of us are entitled for the JPPSM each year. But apart from that, how do you maximize your potential? You might have like few papers and you want to attend the conference, right? So these are the things. Okay. Dr. Suzaira, do we still have time?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, all right. Okay. Right. So I just want to share some of the experience, or some of my experience that kind of I made mistake. Okay, I made mistake in this field, and I learned from that actually. So this is research that we have done somewhere in 2017. Actually, this is where I started to. Initially, my main focus was on the polyaniline as a sensor. But then after that only I started to work on the sustainable waste management, which means I wanted to make use of waste materials as a filler for the polyaniline, and also wanted to see how they perform in terms of the sensor applications. So I just give some brief idea to my students. So this was one of my student, FYP student. This work is from FYP work. And yeah, she was a very hardworking student. So she came up with the idea, and then she told me, okay, why not we use eggshell? So that time, uh, yeah, yeah, that time I was like quite heavy teaching load. So we agreed, and then we continued the work. Okay, so the work we did all was like good. We got some improvements, and then when I wanted to submit, okay, we also submitted the paper. Okay, then the reviewer addressed the question over here. You can see over here the title of these two papers, also from the same authors. Okay, one was published in 2010, another one published in 2012. So these two papers also use polyaniline, eggshells, and they were used as ammonia sensor, exactly the same ideology of the present work. Right, so this was the mistake that I did, where I overlooked the literature, because when we work in 2017, when you go 5 years behind, we might overlook what has been done like very late behind, right? So but fortunately, when I compare the data that we have in this paper, this in 2020 paper, with the old papers, we managed to find some new knowledge. So I would say this is not something novel, but we are contributing some information to the existing body of knowledge, right? So when you do that, definitely you get the credit of publishing the paper. And this paper is actually indexed by Scopus and also Web of Science, but not an ISI. This is under ESEI. Okay, but yeah, you got something good, which you like credit from Scopus and also Web of Science. That's good. One of the things that I wanted to share, so that all of us, when we plan and design the experiment, we need to be a little bit careful and make sure to check some references. Okay, the second story that I would like to share is yeah, this is also from my FYP student. Izian as well was the student who worked on this FYP project. So we did this, we drafted this paper. So this time we got the polyaniline, same ammonia gas detection, but we have used the waste coil shells. So yeah, so these shells also being waste, right? So we just thought, why not? We use this, and we actually enhanced this paper with a lot of characterization and a lot of information that we got. And yeah, so this was the first, yeah, the first comment after the review process. The editor gave me the comment. The response to reviewers was adequate, but I looked at the English. So during this process, actually, I haven't sent my paper to any proofreader. Okay, I just submit the paper, and then it went through the review process, got some good recommendations. We managed to answer all the questions. So the reviewer, if you look at the okay, I actually forgot. All right. Now, one more thing. Actually, they asked to proofread the paper. So I sent the paper to proofreading. Okay, they proofread the paper, and then only I got this comment from the editor. So the editor said response to reviewers was adequate, but I looked at the English. I fixed the paper up to the results and discussion. So he used the track changes. So editor went and make the correction at the paper which already proofread. Okay, he he did a he did some changes in terms of the command of English, and he requests me to do the same, follow his style. And when I checked the way he changed, I actually was like clueless. I don't know how am I supposed to, it's totally my writing style, and it's like he want me to follow the editor's writing style. How can I do that? So I was like so desperate, not desperate, I was like so sad kind of a thing. I thought maybe the editor will reject my paper. So I contact the proofreader again. I explained to the proofreader. So the proofreader was really, really helpful. Proofreader went through each and every comment by this editor on the English, and he called me. He called me and then he explained to me, see, bro, when you look at this editor's comments, like doesn't make sense, because I just give you one example. In scientific writing, when you write an equation, the next sentence we will put where A equals to what, B equals to what, right? So that is the normal pattern that we write. But this editor, he made the changes after the equation. You straight away explain about the equation. That means you don't put the conjunction words over there. So these kind of things that he was like making the changes. Then the proofreader asked me to send a rebuttal. And so far in my life, I've never sent any rebuttal. So, because being an author, and especially when you're sending a paper to like top publisher like Wiley, kind of scared actually to send the rebuttal. Rebuttal means you oppose to the suggestion by the editor. But he convinced me, the proofreader convinced me. He asked me to give some examples from other journals, and then he taught me how you can write the rebuttal and everything. So I sent the rebuttal to the editor. Finally, the editor accepts. Actually, there was another email before the one that I'm showing now over here, where the editor mentioned that it's okay. After all, this is your paper, so it's going to be your style of writing. So anyhow, the editor just told me that in some sentences I use the word they. Okay, for the eggshells, I use the term they. So the editor was very particular. He said, don't use the word they, where it refers to human for me. So you use it instead of they. So I changed that. So like very minor things I changed. And yeah, it's like the paper was accepted. So it went through. Before it go to this journal, it was like rejected by 4 or 5 places. Then finally it went through the review and was published. So that was another experience that I got. So whenever you get comments from editor, okay, regardless of a normal publisher or top publisher, if you feel like your point is valid, don't step back. You can always you can voice out your opinion. Oh yeah, another one more thing. This also I have heard this from many webinars. Okay, you can see this comment away. Also, your manuscript does not cite a single paper published in PS. PS is this journal, Polymer Engineering and Science. So this is true. Huh? Okay, when you're writing a paper and you're submitting to the journal, the editor will expect. Okay, the editor will expect, and some they don't really bother, some editors, but mostly the editors will see your references, because when you're publishing with them, they also want some credits in terms of citation for the journal. And definitely the argument over here is, he said that the editor said that it is not really out of the scope of this journal, so he want the readers to understand that this paper also within the same journal scope, aim and scope. So that's how he justified that. But yeah, probably this is because of the citation impact as well. Okay, so with that, I think, oh yeah, okay, so this is the second last slide. So okay, whatever that I've shared just now, all the ideas, all that I've shared, actually I got it from my experience mainly. Okay, so the experience, all this experience actually I got as when I was placed in the role as chief editor for Journal of Academia, my site, and also section editor for the Scientific Research Journal, also indexed by my site. And yep, so this one I just don't know where am I supposed to take my record, so I just took it from the Publons. So last year I managed to publish with the team support. Okay, definitely without the team I wouldn't be able to publish like 9 papers in the Scopus, and also Web of Science. Okay, it's mixed up. So here we got like 9 papers over here for the 2020. And also last year, this is not really a lot, but I would say a decent number of times that I was invited as the reviewer for ISI journals. So from here only, I got a lot of these ideas. Whatever element that I've shared today with all of you came from my experience, mostly came from my experience by being this editor, author, reviewer, and so on. And also, yeah, so last year I got these 2 Anugerah, where Anugerah Penulis Prolific and also Anugerah Kolaborasi Penulisan, because I normally collaborate with many outside of UiTM, because sometimes the facility that we have would be like not really sufficient, so you wanted to send out your samples to characterize and so on. So that's a thing. And yeah, it's always good for you to have a research timeline, because I joined UiTM in December 2015. So in 2016, I started something on the conducting polymers, which was a continuation from my PhD. And then I put it as in 2017, start to focus on the waste shells. And then in 2018, I focused more on the waste shells. Okay, here's something interesting happened. So yeah, when we do the analysis on these crab shells, it was just a, we take the crabs, we blend it, and then we analyze. So at the SCM morphology side, we found something like a fibrillar structure. So when I investigate more on that, I realized crab actually contained the chitin and chitosan. So since then, I was started to work with the chitin and chitosan from the shells to the penny sensors. Then yep, so now I'm also working on the fungal based chitin and chitosan. And now in 2021, also focusing in the sustainable waste management. And these are some of my research interests. Okay, if you have any common research interests, probably you can always keep in touch with me. So yeah, this is my very last slide. Okay, so I would like to say, fall in love in what you do, it will direct you into the right path. This is what I always believe. If we don't love what we do, we might, kind of suicide, So always love what we do. Definitely, it will end up in the right way. And this is also one of my picture that I always cherish, and I put in my last slides in each of my presentations, because this guy beside me, he is the father of conducting polymers. Since I'm working with the conducting polymers, he is the Nobel Prize winner in the year 2000. I met him in 2013 or 14 at Singapore in one of the conference. So this picture is something close to my heart. I get the chance to meet the Nobel Prize winner of the field that I'm working in. So that's why I always put it here. And my business card, if anything, you can always keep in touch with me. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Stop sharing. Okay. Oh, my video was paused. Okay.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kavi, for a
Okay, thank you.
very insightful sharing. I'm sure all the participants really appreciate with all the great information and tips you have shared with us today. And now I would like to open for a Q&A session from the participant. If you have any question that you would like to ask Dr. Kavi, you can just type in the chat box. Okay. And one more announcement to all participants. You can find the recorded video for today's session by visiting the RIA FSG website, okay, https://riafsg.uitm.edu.my. And the video for today's session will be available latest by this Friday, which is tomorrow, okay, inshallah. Right. So for the question, I think we have a few questions
Yeah, in
for
the
Dr.
chat box,
Kavi.
right?
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah, probably I can just read to you. For the first question, I would like to ask in terms of, let's say, for the data that we put in the standard abstract previously, can we use them back and put them into the full paper, or we have to change or transform the way how we present it?
okay. Okay. Definitely, I would say the content we need to rephrase. So that's why just now I shared the quill board, right? You can use the quill board because it's already published in the online platform, which is under the junior science communication. So when people are like when we check through the plagiarism, yes, there will be some redundancy where it will detect certain portion over there. So to avoid that, you need to rephrase. And when we talk about the figures, normally figures shouldn't be a problem because it came from your own work. Okay. And also, if let's say you're submitting to any journal, you can highlight this point in your cover letter, saying that this was presented in a conference and it was published. Okay, this in an extended abstract form, published under this junior science communication. So you have to clearly, we call that declaration. You have to declare that in the cover letter. Okay, because some journals, yes, I've seen their guideline. If you have done even from the thesis, if let's say you are submitting from your thesis, you need to declare that in the cover letter. So that is the main purpose of this cover letter.
Right. The next question would be from Nur Anati Jamaluddin. Okay. She asks about Okay, let me just read the question. Hi, Dr. Kavi. I just wondering, sometimes we as a student tend to repeat what is in abstract and in conclusion. Is there any side tips to write it correctly? What if it is review paper? So any comment on that?
Okay, you see, the main points between the abstract and the conclusion, I mean, the main points is going to be, might look the same, but just that when we talk about the abstract, I've given like 5 elements there, right? Like background, what is the problem, what is the method that you've used, what is the results. These are the things that you're going to highlight in the abstract. But on top of that, in the conclusion, you're going to just summarize. That means you don't need to like rewrite everything, because people, when they want to read your paper, just that when we write the paper, we write the abstract as the last part. But when readers read the paper, they will read the abstract as the first part. They don't go, they won't even see your conclusion first. They will get the chance to read the abstract. Okay. So for the conclusion, we just give a summary of your findings. Okay, just a summary. And mainly you need to emphasize on how did you achieve your hypothesis or your research question. And also you can suggest some future work that you may find it as the research gap that you left in your particular research. Okay, you can also give a suggestion. So these are the main contents that you can put it in the conclusion part. Okay, so these are my suggestions. So there was another, what if it is a review paper? Okay, review paper, honestly, I can't comment much, because I myself don't have much experience, because I'm now writing few review papers. Because due to this pandemic, what happened, like I think many of us end up in asking our students to do review base. Okay, and I'm the type, like, if possible, I don't want to keep any of this write up. I always wanted to publish all out. So when I wanted to convert this review thesis into review papers, really find it a bit difficult, because it was done by student, and the way they populate the data is totally different from our perspective. Okay, so when it comes to review paper, yep, again, the conclusion is going to be something like, you need to give, I mean, earlier in the review paper, you must have introduced some questions, right? So you have to emphasize and focus whether those questions are answered or not. So this would be my opinion at the moment, but definitely I also need to study more on this part. Okay, so I cannot give you a very clear answer at the moment for this review paper related question. Sorry for that.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Kavi, for your feedback. I think that's all the question that we have for today. And before we end these sessions, I need the cooperation from all the participants to switch on the video for photography session. Okay, Dr. Shahril, whenever you're ready to take the photo. Okay, we are still waiting for the participants to switch on the camera, switch on the video. Okay, Dr. Shahril, over to you.
Okay, done. Done. Thank you.
All right. Okay, thank you, everyone. All right. On behalf of the committee, we would like to thank once again to Dr. Kavi for the talk given, and to all the participants. Thank you very much for your time. I hope that we can meet again, inshallah, and take care and have a nice day, everyone. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kavi.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gavi.